Hello my fragrance friends, it's Kat and I'm back today to talk about blind buying fragrances and letting you know what my probably biggest blind buy fails were. Now, what is blind buying fragrances? It is simply buying them online or buying them in store without trying them first. And that's not what you should be doing. Every person and their dog will tell you do not blind buy, it's not worth it. I will even tell you it's not worth blind buying things, especially when you're talking about niche fragrances that might cost you hundreds of dollars, because you never know how it's actually going to perform on you or how it's going to clash with your skin chemistry. So it is always best to try first. However, that's not always easy. I'm in Australia. A lot of the niche fragrances aren't available in store. I can't just go in and try it and go, oh yeah, I like that. There are services, there are some websites where you can buy decants. So that is someone that actually will pump out a little sample that you can buy, which is a good way to trial fragrances, especially again, those really niche, expensive ones. But again, they cost money. And sometimes when it comes to cheaper brands, so like Middle Eastern brands, instead of spending $10 on a 2ml decant, it is actually sometimes worth taking the risk of spending $50 on a 100ml bottle. And if you don't like it, you just give it away or sell it. And often the decant sites don't have all the fragrances you're after anyway. So it is a bit of a toss-up. You have to sort of decide if things are worth the risk. I do want to flag that there are communities, especially like on Facebook, there's fragrance communities where people will give testers to people or sell them at a really cheap price. So there are ways around it, but it's often a lot of time and effort to source that sample just to make sure that you're going to like the fragrance. If you are going to blind buy fragrances, I suggest sort of two ways to approach it. One, do your research. So really look at the fragrance notes, watch or read a lot of reviews. One thing that I do when I actually watch sort of fragrance reviews is I will actually look at some of their reviews of fragrances that I already have and love and see what they think about it, because if they also really love it, we might have similar tastes. The other thing is it is a gamble. So only buy something that you're sort of willing to say goodbye to that money if it doesn't work out for you. In the online fragrance community, you can also sell things on. So it is easier to do that with popular fragrances. So if you find a really sort of unique niche fragrance that no one talks about, chances are that's going to be harder to sell on than something that is really popular and sort of raved about. So keep that in mind as well. Now on to my fails. I'm going to talk about my biggest, saddest fail of the whole time. This is a fragrance that I could have easily got samples of from decant websites, but I bought this before I sort of knew about how the fragrance community works. This was my first sort of big splurge into a niche fragrance, and I love it, but I'll explain why it's a sad situation. This baby is Tahota from Indult, Paris. It is like the creme de la creme of vanilla fragrances. If you want to smell like a delicious vanilla essence, but really yummy, like extract kind of beautifulness, this can't be beat. It is just pure vanilla goodness. I love the smell of it. It was very expensive. I ordered it all the way from France, and I've kept the box thinking I might resell this. For one reason only. I go anosmic to it, so I actually can't smell it on myself. It's heartbreaking. I spray it on myself and I'm like, oh, while it's wet, I'm like, that's nice. And then it completely disappears like I'm not wearing anything. Now, I'm sure that possibly other people can smell it, but like I wear fragrances for me, and this is a situation where I'm absolutely heartbroken. It is gorgeous. I also will sometimes spray this, smell it. Like I remember one time I was really annoyed and I was like, I'm going to spray this before I go to bed. I think I put it and it got on my pajamas. The next day I was taking off my pajamas. I smelled them. I'm like, oh my God, it smells amazing, but I can't smell it on me. So that is a risk you take. You can spend lots of money on a very bougie fragrance that you think is foolproof because the notes are perfection to you. It's like just vanilla and musk. I'm like, that sounds amazing, but it doesn't work on my skin chemistry. Like, what is this? And I keep periodically testing it, hoping that it will work. Let's just do it again. Why not? I don't get anything. So maybe I'll spray it on my clothes and it's heartbreaking. So this is a great example of what I would think would be a safe blind buy, but my body chemistry messes it up. Next up, my next heartbreaking one that I was guaranteed I was going to love and adore and it be my like signature scent. This is Unknown Pleasures by Kerosene. I ordered this from the US. I'm so glad there was a service that shipped to Australia because the Kerosene website doesn't. Now I'm going to tell you the notes of this and it's going to sound like it's Kat's fragrance to a T. There's lemon, yes. Caramel, yum. Vanilla, yes. Earl Grey tea, yes. Bergamot, woo. Honey, sure. Tonka bean, fine. This to me was going to be my dream fragrance. It's the balance of lemon and gourmand, and I love citrus. I love gourmand. This was going to be it for me. And I held off buying anything like Acro Bake, Dolce & Gabbana Devotion, like that sort of citrus meets gourmand. I was like, no, this is going to be my one. This is me. Now, is there something wrong with my bottle or is there something wrong with my nose? And here's the thing that's really confusing is that my best friend also smelt this and had the same instinct. So is it my bottle? Can I get it replaced? What's happening? This to me is very, I don't want to say spicy. When I first apply it, I do get like a whiff of lemon, which is beautiful and refreshing. The tea comes out, but it's almost like a spicy, really sharp tea. And there's something also, it sort of settles down a little bit coconutty on me. I think it's the tonka. I like the tea. I like the lemon. That sort of tonka potentially turning a little bit coconutty is all I sort of get when I get a little bit of a waft of it. It's like this sort of, to me, I'm very sensitive to coconut scents. They sort of can trigger headaches for me. So I get this sort of almost like a green coconut sort of vibe. I think a lot of people, their nose or their body interprets that as the sort of caramel vanilla and it's very delectable and yummy. For me, it's not so yummy. It sort of smells like you've got a coconut water that you squirt some lemon and some sort of tea, and it's just a little bit sharp and unpleasant. A lot of people are like, it's waffly and it's vanilla-y and it's delicious. On Fragrantica, the main accords are citrus, vanilla, caramel, sweet. Then it goes down to aromatic, honey, fresh, green. It's like my bottle skips the vanilla, caramel, and sweet and goes straight to the aromatic green sort of notes. I don't get it. I just don't get it. It does eventually fade down to a very soft vanilla, but that's when it's like hours later and it becomes a very close sort of body scent where it's sort of done. So I don't hate it. It's fine, but it's just not as yummy and as special as what people make out. And I don't know if it's just my bottle. Now, for reference, I have had this sitting in a drawer for like, I want to say nearly 6 months. So if there was any sort of maceration that was supposed to happen to bring out those sweet notes, it should have already happened by now. Oh, what am I getting? Like curry? What's going on? Why am I getting like curry sort of, I don't know. This is unusual. It should have been an absolute home run, but unfortunately for me, it smells like curry on me now. What is going on? Is it just my bottle? Can someone from Kerosene please tell me what's going on? Is this a bad batch? I don't know. There's no batch number. The next blind buy that I didn't really vibe with, this one again, I think on the notes, I was getting a little bit bold and I was like, I think I'll like this sort of coffee dessert one. And everyone raves about it being one of the best coffee scented fragrances. I like coffee. It's great. So this is Coffee Addict by Theodoros Kalatinis. And this is not a very expensive niche fragrance, which is good. There is like a more expensive range and this is sort of like a lower range. So it wasn't too much of a splurge. It's very coffee. It's very sweet on paper. It's totally fine. It is a little bit artificial coffee. The notes of this, coffee, caramel, vanilla, cacao pod. So again, supposed to be quite sweet. The last three notes are wins for me. They're pretty basic. I think this is a great example of just realizing that you don't want to smell like bitter coffee. Even though it does have caramel vanilla notes to it to soften it out, it's just not really a scent that vibes with me. So it's just not something that I feel feels like me. I am going to keep it for now. This is one that I could easily sell because it's a very popular fragrance. But I think in winter, layered with some of my more sort of stronger caramel fragrances, or even my like whiff of waffle cone, which is sort of very maple syrupy, I think this could just tone that down a little bit. So I have hope I can use it, but yeah, I just realized I don't want to smell like projecting bitter coffee with some desserty notes. So we're at number 4 out of 5, and I'm going to talk about Humra from Lattafa. Now, this was fairly cheap. I got it from Amazon for like $40 or something. Not that big a deal. Very impressive box. It looks very cool. I knew that this was too bold for me. Let's be real. I'm a fresh citrus girl trying to get into gourmands. So heavy, like syrupy, spicy fragrances are a bit much for me. But what made me take the risk was that not only do people always talk about this fragrance as being like one of the best Middle Eastern fragrances of all time, and I really do like Lattafa fragrances, but this is the most popular fragrance on Fragrantica, which is nuts. So this is what people enjoy the most, rate the most. It might not be the highest rating, but the most people rate it like really highly. Men and women both love this fragrance because it does have a lot of like amber woody notes in it, very spicy. It's got cinnamon and nutmeg, which I can smell. It's almost like smelling like a stick of cinnamon. But it does have that sort of very sweet date and vanilla vibe to it. So it almost smells like a pie. Like there's no apple, but almost like an apple pie, like, but really lots of spices. Now I actually quite like this. Just sprayed on a post-it because I don't want to scrub it off my arms. I actually quite like this. I think if this was a candle, this would be like the nicest spicy candle for like cooler weather. But again, on me, it's too much. This is also a powerhouse projector and longevity fragrance. So if you want something that you can like fill up a room and last a really long time, this is it. The problem is that if you find that this is too overwhelming, that's actually a bit of a deterrent. I, again, have been macerating this in a dark drawer, occasionally spraying it, being like, I hope the spicy notes calm down a little bit, because next winter I would really love to be able to confidently rock this. But right now I will put it on and then it, like, I can't put it around my neck. It has to be on my wrists. And even then it sort of really distracts me throughout the day and I eventually have to scrub it off. So this to me is not for me. And this was a blind buy where I sort of knew that. It was just fairly cheap. I really wanted to try like the most viral sort of talked about fragrance. And yeah, I'm not disappointed because I didn't spend big bucks and I wasn't expecting a lot, but it does show you that like, yeah, it's just going to sit in the drawer. The last one is also from Lattafa. Now this one, I don't think, again, I'm that mad about. I think I got it for like $30, so it's not that big a deal. Again, probably very easy to pass on to someone as a gift. This is Nebris. I think I ordered this because I was trying to get to free shipping somewhere, so it's not that big a deal. The notes of this: red berries, mandarin orange, vanilla, cacao, rose, sugar, tonka bean, amber, musk. Quite nice, like nothing wrong with it. Apparently people say that this smells a lot like a Billie Eilish fragrance. I haven't tried those, but apparently this is stronger, and when it does macerate over time, it like lasts a lot longer. So this is sort of in that sort of vibe, but just a more powerhousey fragrance. When I first spray it, I do get the mint. I didn't originally, but when people talk about this being like a minty chocolate, and I didn't quite understand that when I first got it. Just spraying it now, I get that mint, so I understand maybe it's developing and it's doing some stuff and maybe I'll like it long term. This is an example of a fragrance that I just think, even though I like the notes individually, I feel like when they come together, it creates a bit of a soapy vibe. And so to me, this is like, it's like yum yuck. This sort of reminds me a little bit of Lush shower gels or soaps. There's something a little bit like the Lush Dirty. I'm getting a bit of Lush Dirty vibes in this, which I never used to get. I think that's actually a bit fresher than what I remember. But I think the soapiness of this, it just makes it smell a little bit more synthetic. So instead of it smelling sort of yummy and, oh, there's cocoa and there's this and there's sugar and there's whatever and there's berries, to me it sort of smells yeah, quite synthetic and soapy. I do have hopes for this though. So now that I've smelt this, and the last time I smelt it was a few weeks ago, I'm feeling like it is changing. Sort of instead of smelling a bit artificial and soapy and a little bit cloying, I'm feeling a little bit more freshness. So I'm hoping that if this sits in the drawer and thinks about what it's done for a few more months, I think it might be something that I can tolerate. So that's number 5, but it shows you that sometimes you got to sit and give it a try. But yeah, these two still sit in a drawer, and whenever I think about them, I get a little like pang of sadness. So yeah, that's my journey. So in conclusion, learn from my mistakes. Try not to blind buy things that are too expensive. If you are going to blind buy, I highly recommend delving into Middle Eastern fragrances, because even if they don't work entirely, they can actually change over time. They can become something you're going to enjoy, and they don't break the bank. You're probably spending like a 1/5 or a 1/6 of the price, sometimes even a 1/10 of the price. So it doesn't make you feel as bad and make you lose sleep at night than something like a niche sort of French brand that is very expensive. So where you can, please sample, test the fragrances, so you don't waste your money. But if you do want to see success stories, I'm more than happy to do a top 5 blind buys. So let me know if you want to see that in the comments. And also let me know what your worst blind buy experiences were. And what did you do? What did you do with them? Did you gift them away? Did you sell them? Did you layer them? Let me know. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.